favorite parts of the Bible to read. I hope it might be one of yours too. This love your enemies, do good to those who hate you. The measure you give will be given back to you, pressed down, running over. It sounds really nice, doesn't it? Unfortunately, it's kind of hard to always put into practice. Our lesson today from Genesis actually gives us a really good example of how this works in practice. You see, it gives us the very ending of the story of Joseph and his brothers. So let me just walk you through this really quickly from the beginning. Joseph's father, Jacob, also known as Israel, had 12 sons. Not only did he have 12 sons, he had 12 sons by 4 different women, 2 of whom were his wives, 2 of whom were his wives' maids. He also had daughters, but we really don't hear much more about them because I guess apparently they weren't that important to write about in those days. So, these brothers, as brothers tend to be, were jealous. Joseph was their father's favorite. There's just no denying that. His father even showed his favoritism by giving his son a very special coat, that coat of many colors. And his brothers were jealous enough that they decided to get rid of him. First, they took him out into the country and were going to leave him in a pit to die when they decided, why just kill him when we can make a little bit of money off of him? So they took his coat, sold Joseph into slavery, took the coat, dipped it in blood, and told their father that he had been killed. I've known some dysfunctional families in my time. This one sort of takes the cake. So then Joseph gets taken off in slavery into Egypt, where he is put into prison, and he turns out to have a gift for interpreting dreams. 2 prisoners came to him to interpret their dreams. He interpreted them correctly. He told the first one, "You're about to be set free." Sure enough, he was. The second one says, "Ooh, you're really good at dreams. Tell me mine." Joseph interpreted this dream and said, "Your head's about to be cut off." He was right. But the one who was set free was returned to service with Pharaoh. And a while later, Pharaoh had a dream. The old dream about 7 fat cows and 7 lean cows. And this former prisoner, remembered that there was a man in prison who could interpret dreams. Pharaoh sent for him, told him, "You're going to have 7 years of plenty in the land, 7 years of famine. Save what you can out of the good years because you'll need it in the bad years." Pharaoh said, "I put you in charge of everything." Okay, so the 7 years went by. Joseph stored up all the grain he could, had lots of it. Then the famine came. And of course, a man who was sold into slavery himself was not going to be against doing that sort of thing to others. So first he impoverished the people of Egypt, making them give all their money to get grain. And then he says, "Well, you're out of money now, so we'll take your land and then you can sell yourselves into slavery." So by the end of 2 years, Pharaoh owned everything and everybody in Egypt, with Joseph lording it over everybody. But this was the time when Jacob and Joseph's 11 brothers were, of course, left in Israel, in Canaan. So they decided to go to Egypt to buy grain. Well, Joseph met his brothers there, but didn't reveal himself. He just gave them sold them grain, sent them back home, and said, "If you want any more, you're going to have to return with your other brother, Benjamin," which was Joseph's only full brother. Well, their father didn't want to let Benjamin go, but finally he was, starving, so he let Benjamin go. Okay, the brothers came down. You can just see Joseph, he's wanting to weep and hug his brothers, but he doesn't quite do that. No, he still hides who he is, sends them back to their father to bring their father and their brother back. But they hide some cups from Pharaoh's house in their sacks. send some people out after them, saying that they had stolen from Pharaoh. It was found, and then bring the brothers back. So Joseph wasn't even above lording it over his brothers, that he had the power to take their lives. But it all ends well, as we read here. Eventually, the brothers come back, their father comes back, Joseph reveals who he is, everybody lives happily ever after. Now, this was a family. Let's run through this again. This was a family that was born of plural marriage, adultery. The maids probably didn't have much of a say, so we might even call that rape. 12 brothers and some girls who are left alone. Brothers who are not above killing their brother until they decide, well, why kill him when we can make some money? The brother then takes most of Egypt into slavery for the king. And this is the family that God chooses to be the father of the nation of Israel, the 12 tribes of Israel, from which our Savior Jesus comes. This was not a good family by all telling. By any record, I can't think of much they did that was really good. The only redeeming feature you will find in this story is a little bit of love. Clearly, the brothers who sold their other brother into slavery, there was no love lost there. But they all did love their father. They all had love and respect for the family structure. That's not much to work with, but God worked with it. And out of that little bit of love came God's witness to the world through the people of Israel and our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And if God could do that with such a flawed group of people, I know what I've done in my life. I know what some of you have been through in your lives. I haven't heard anything in this room that comes even close to what this family did. Imagine what God can do with those of us who try a little bit harder to be loving and good. Not that we can be perfectly loving and good, that's only God. But as our collect says today, we can pray that God teach us how to love, so that God can use us for things just as great as Joseph, if not even greater. And Jesus today tells us just a little about how to do that, to love your enemies, to give to those who ask of you, to lend to those for whom you have no hope of getting anything back. In other words, be a shadow, show a shadow of the generosity that God shows to us on a day-to-day basis. That doesn't mean that when somebody is abusive to you and hurts you, that you have to be reconciled. But it does mean to at least struggle to pray for that person from a distance. It doesn't mean that you have to open your wallet and empty it out to every panhandler that comes up to you. We would be poor very quickly if we did that, but at least offer a kind word or a prayer, if nothing else. Strive to be loving. Strive to be generous in honor of the one who loves us, generous and abundantly beyond what we can do. We will never succeed to love as much as God does, but I'm sure we can love at least as much as Joseph does. So turn to your Lord and ask for the grace to love as he has loved us. Amen.
Amen.